for it. Stay up in the night and in the morning I'ma rise for it. Heart for it, mind for it, ears for it, eyes for it. Peace and a place on this earth for me and mine for it. Work for it, strive for it, I'ma organize for it. Stay up in the night and in the morning I'ma rise for it. Heart for it, mind for it, ears for it, eyes for it. Peace and a place on this earth for me and mine for it.
Hello, peace. Thanks for tuning in to the Money, Power, Land, Solidarity podcast. I'm GP Jacob, and the title of today's episode is The Longest Bridge. White supremacy was created by slave owners and genociders in the early days of the colonization of the Americas to divide and conquer the laboring masses, steal the land from indigenous people, and enforce a disgusting system of chattel slavery. White is a political and legal category that bestowed social and legal privileges on European workers in order to break the bonds of solidarity and stop the uprisings that were forming in the fields and workshops of multiracial, multinational colonial America. The most important wedge for the ruling class to drive is between poor people of European descent and the rest of the working classes. Our capitalist system of exploitation rests on that wedge. I was raised around violent racism. I remember being called the N-word lover at my little brother's baseball game at Logan Park in Northeast Minneapolis, the summer before my sophomore year of high school, a month before the September 11th attacks, by the father of one of my brother's teammates. A few hours later, I remember my dad showed up on his front porch and beat him bloody in his front yard. I remember confrontations with boys in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade over their use of the N-word or seeing swastikas written on their notebooks. I've had black elders share with me that they had crosses burned on their lawn in Northeast Minneapolis in the 1980s. Unlike the passive-aggressive racism that permeates middle-class white Minnesota, the working-class racism of Northeast Minneapolis was often direct and physical. I was also raised around multi- and interracial working-class solidarity. We played football, basketball, and baseball at Botno Park, Logan Park, and Waite Park on multiracial teams. Our black teammates and friends ate at our table and we ate at theirs. We stood shoulder to shoulder. Our Laotian neighbors watched out for us and my parents watched out for their kids. I've experienced unbreakable bonds of love and respect formed despite the best attempts of American racism to prevent them. For the past 150 years or so, the Mississippi River has been used as a line of segregation in Minneapolis, giving rise to the infamous joke that the Lowry Bridge is the longest bridge in the world because it connects Poland to Africa. Traveling over the Lowry Bridge did something to my body chemistry as a child. I know now that my nervous system was picking up on the nervous systems of the adults around me who were tensing, hardening, and having fight or flight chemicals dropped into their bloodstream. We were raised in a state of war. We inherited an open wound. As a child, I remember parents of my black friends from the north side expressing similar feelings when driving me home over the bridge to Northeast Minneapolis, saying that they had been warned not to cross that bridge and didn't go to Northeast if they didn't have to. So much energy of the American ruling class has gone to promoting hostility, paranoia, ignorance, and privilege among potentially rebellious whites because this system of exploitation depends on a servile, overseer class of whites willing to do the dirty work for the 1%. When I think about the Upper Harbor Terminal development, I think about the particulate matter from the GAF shingles factory and Northern Metals recycling plants that we were breathing, and I affirm that I have more in common with my black working class neighbors than I do wealthy white CEOs or manager class white Republicans. My white privilege makes my lived experience in America very different from black and brown folks, but not so different that I can't identify a common ruling class oppressor. I can see that the pain and limitations put on my working class community were not being caused or enforced by black or Hmong Northsiders or immigrants from Central America. Making the lives of black and brown people worse does not make our lives better. Racism, white supremacy is indeed a divide and conquer scheme. Communities like the one I was raised in, mostly white, overworked, underpaid, under and miseducated, culturally and politically stifled, have been taught to blow our aggression and trauma through the bodies of more vulnerable people. To scapegoat black and brown people, which does nothing to improve our material political realities but only further corrupts our moral, spiritual, and cultural lives and entrenches our position as lackeys for the ruling class. In order for our lives to get better, or for us to experience democracy, so-called white Americans, European American workers must go to war, politically, culturally, and physically with the ruling capitalist class and plant our feet firmly on the side of humanity against white supremacy. Solidarity is about mutual respect, mutual support, mutual dependence, mutual power. I recognize my own humanity and the humanity of every other person on this earth. I recognize my interconnectedness with every other human, and I will give my best effort to work in our mutual best interest. I know we are more powerful when we are working in creative collaboration, and that we are stronger when we stand together. I know that white is not a biological category. I know that whiteness is a lie and is a bribe. I know that the category white is a political and legal category that stripped me of my ancestral language, culture, values, spirituality, and sense of worth. I know that I received the privileges of being white in America and that I must accept responsibility for dismantling the system of racial privilege in exchange for a system of human liberation. Many of the people I think about as I write these words, the working poor white folks who lived close to the Upper Harbor Terminal in Northeast Minneapolis, have already been displaced. Rather than our inner city neighborhood, many now live in the northern suburbs or exurbs, moved to a new geography but stuck in the same austerity and frustration that comes with life in America for the poor. My fear is that one of the impacts of gentrification will be those folks moving farther away from multiracial solidarity towards the racist right-wing paranoia being blasted through our TVs, radios, and computers. Part of the reason I'm doing this project is to counteract those hateful messages with another narrative. Development projects like the Upper Harbor are local moments to have these real conversations, to build these real coalitions, to address the trauma that sits within and between us and work towards the multiracial socialist democracy that the Black Panthers and the Young Lords and the Young Patriots imagined for us. It's not easy, but it's necessary, and the only foundation we can stand on is the truth. The truth of the matter is white supremacy must die, must be eradicated from our hearts, minds, bodies, and institutions. That day can't come soon enough. Thanks for tuning in. Money, power, land, solidarity.
We need money, land, solidarity. If you funny, stand very far away from me. We have running plans about as far as they can see to keep them coming. Bands building up the company. Shonda told me I was gonna be prosperous. I listen. I'm just praying, make a place a positive addition. Try to knock me off my spot would be preposterous. Y'all fishing in this bitch, illuminate like phosphorus. I glisten, gliding like a Christ on the water. Now you're christened, sliding like I'm ice over overtop the opposition. Hold a vision in my mind and make it pop about fruition. Expanding these demands, we will not crop the propositions. Shelter, clothes, food, guaranteed the whole mood. The rest, you're gonna inherit the earth that